Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Better Than Starting Manned. My name is Gord, and we are back after a very successful mission to Minmus. Probably one of the most successful single missions I've run. And we're designing a new one already. Possibly designing a new one and doing some unrelated work while I see what you guys think of the design, because your feedback has been incredibly useful. So it's been pretty much unanimous that picking up this surface imager now is the way to go, so that we can then pick up basically another swath of science. So let's get it. Because, I mean, we are so close to another node already that I think we'd probably even be able to afford it after one orbit of Kerbal. But that just doesn't seem like enough of a challenge. So we are going for a pretty big thing. So we got Explore Eve, Explore Ike. We're going to look at this in a minute. Because I might do some of that today separately or in the next episode. But today is primarily focused on design. So the most advanced probe core we have at the moment, I believe, is the HECS. Yeah, it looks like that's the best we're going to do for automated probe cores. It uses 2.48 per minute. So here's the center of our ship. Now then, solar panels, as we know, use 54 per hour, which I've pre-calculated out to be 0.9 per minute. So we need about 4 of these. Less than 4 by a great deal, but we're going to need some decent battery backup because the surface imager takes a lot of power both to run and to transmit the data home, because we don't want to be bouncing back and forth. But if we can avoid it, we don't want to be taking this whole... is this a solar array? Yes, it is. We don't want to take all that with us if we can avoid it. So we can get rid of at least... Oh, well, actually, we can get rid of this part. We're not going to need the fuel in this one. The fuel, because the whole purpose of the fuel there was to make certain aspects of this trip easier. All right, come on, grab it. There we go. So if we do 3 per, that is a nice quantity of solar panels for this ship. More than we'll actually need. By some. Not, by an insane quantity, but by some. So, and then basically we're going to let's see if we can make this work the way I'd like it to. We've got to set it up so the probe core is a tiny little ship of its own. I have an idea here. This is the what we would call the real outside shot of the mission. This is the biggest, riskiest part. So we're going to throw a tiny bit of structural expansion on there, I think, because we just need enough to attach a pair of goo canisters to. See, we're going to try and get the solar goo today, just as an added bonus. All right, what's lighter? 2 of these, 0.1, 0.03. Oh, this is way lighter. Octagonal super struts, you are just that good. So if we're going to be grabbing solar science, all right, so it's unavoidable. We have to put that on the ship. All right. But solar science is kind of, as I say, it's the outside shot. It's the crazy bonus round of this mission. Playing it safe with the 2.5 meter heat shield, because we could be coming in very, very hot depending on the return setup. And then we just need aerodynamics, probably 2 radial mount parachutes right there should do the trick. Okay, so there is our crazy little return probe. And oh, almost forgot. We want a tiny bit of RCS on this so that we can do some sort of final... We want to get it away from the ship before we get too close to the planet. The last thing I want to do is be running into the ship. So we're going to need Actually, can we squeeze 2 of these on? Yes, we can. And by the time we get to the ground, they're not going to even be necessary anymore, so they could even be positioned to burn off, but that should be okay. A little bit of clipping, not my favorite, but sometimes a tiny bit. That should be okay. Okay. So you guys are off, and you're going to be off. Okay. These need to be tuned for a slightly higher minimum pressure. The higher the pressure, the lower they deploy. So we'll go with 0.15. That should have applied to both of those. Yes, it did. Okay. RCS, now we just need the thrusters. Can't attach them to that, so we'll put 4 of them, like so, around the base. That should actually, if we put it, let's just see if we can find the center of mass. There it is. It's quite low, actually. It's going to go up a little as we fly the ship, so that might just not even function. So we'll put it here. We'll put it here. They're going to be the sort of minor thrusters. Excellent. Okay. So that's that. There's our solar array. Now our solar array is going to become equipped with some pretty important stuff, including, let's see, did they get, oh, did Flowerchild give us data on how much that uses? Okay, here we are. Required when requires 1 hour, 16.5 per minute, and requires 1 hour. So that's the information we need. So because this will tell us how much power we need this ship to carry. So in 60 minutes, it's going to use 16.5, which means we need at least, okay, 990. Well, one of these batteries holds 3,200. So if we put 2 of these on, which will be more than adequate, we will not have to worry about the solar panels burning out in the process. Now then, we're going to need our best comm, our best communication, and we got to figure out how to squeeze this onto the ship. Let's turn off this. And if we're really, really clever about this, we might be able to squeeze it onto this and the other science onto the end of the solar panel array. So we'll put this right here. That's our communications rig. Okay, communications rig 0.06. Probably not going to be, well, no, we're not going to be in the right place to do gravioli of the sun, so we won't worry about that. We are, however, going to be in a position to do 0.25, 0.05, weighs just a little bit more. Annoying, but we'll grab our barometer. A barometer and a single thermometer. Actually, for ship balance, might be good just to not that kind of mirroring. Put one right there. Yeah, I think that'll be the better design. That way it's laterally stable. And then we'll put on the end of this a single barometer, and on the end of this we'll put 2 single thermometers. We'll attach those all to action groups here in a second, but this is just enough to make the ship stable. Now, mass, 14 tons. And this is everything that we should need to collect science, both in orbit around Kerbal and in other places. This will be called the Triplanetary Express. See, what we're going to do is this mission, my goal is to get this, get the imaging from Kerbal, from the moon, from Minmus, and then get the solar sample to boot. Bit of a crazy mission, but one I think that will be well worth it. We really need the large inline reaction wheel, but I guess that will have to do. Now this is not going to take as much RCS, but it's still a long mission. I think we might divide it into 2 stages, the actual payload. Okay, well, let's check something. This is what I want to check. Our booster can currently launch one of those 2 manned payloads into orbit. We need to know how much one of those manned payloads weighs, because I don't really want to send up 2. That was Munshot, or sorry, Onward Minmus. That was Onward Minmus, wasn't it? We'll get the lander component. I can't remember which of these weighed more. It doesn't even say, does it? Okay, just tells me how much it costs. Well, we'll try this one first. Let's see, because this is important information. Functionally speaking, the payload of this one was 52 tons. That is 52 tons. Okay, so that gives us actually a pretty solid 18 tons here. Okay, so we could do, because we want the return stage to not have to push the whole ship if we can avoid it. So return stage will be a poodle, like so, and then yeah, okay, that's set up, and then we'll get a stage. Come on, command and control. A decoupler. Now weighs 29 tons. Going up. Now we need a larger fuel batch for this one. That's 47. That's 51. And that's 53. But if we go with this, 47, 49, and we do the RCS instead, 52. I don't know, is it worth it? How much would we save if we didn't do that? 50. That's 2 tons for those engines. Maybe we should just do it as one big beast here. If we put an orange tank on there, that's 54 tons. That's a little more than I want. But that is 45 tons. Put a second RCS tank on here. That's 48 tons. Yeah, I think that might be the way to go, because how much mass does that really represent? And really, yeah, could work, could work. I think maybe, let's do this just a little differently again. Take that off of there. We're not going to care. All right. No, we are going to need to keep the batteries. Although, no, let's see. So we're going to do a tiny little stage here. We're going to do a departure or return stage here. It's going to use a single LV909, because that should be more than adequate out in the great reaches of beyond. We'll use a single stack decoupler here, a weaker one. And then, there we are. That's 55 tons, which is more than we want. That's 44. Let's grab one more of those little tanks. And then a poodle engine. 51. Okay, once we've added on the missing bits and bobs, namely, well, mostly, boom. Okay, so I mean, what we're looking at here is primarily the Kerbal departure stage. This is, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if this is doable. In fact, I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull one solar panel off to conserve a little bit more mass, because we need 4 of them. We want enough that it will recharge in a reasonable quantity of time. It's too bad that those are all attached. Well, what we could do is that. There we are. Actually, come on, give me back my solar panels. We actually would be better off just removing the inner solar panels, because it'll be easier to get sun out there. That takes a few tons off. That should make us room for the RCS thrusters. Yeah, because they do have mass. Thank you very much. So we put those there. We put these. Okay, those won't go on there. Right here, and we'll put these ones. Actually, no, we'll put them there. And there. No, we won't need those. Those will be extraneous. So we've got this little batch. Actually, what we could do. For better RCS placement, this might be worth the trouble. You go there, put you there. Still plenty of space for that. Yeah, we'll need these RCSs will just make everything a lot easier to control. And those, and then the ones right down at the bottom, because this right here. And then that's our tank 1, that's tank 2, and that's these guys here are tank number 3. Okay. Now we got communication, we've got. So this is a $75,000 ship so far, but the pricey part has not been added. The real expense being the lift section. And currently we're sitting at 49.9, which will actually make this lifter 50-ton plus lift work reasonably well. In fact, one thing I have not looked. Okay, first of all, we need a decoupler. Because that would be terrible, not having a decoupler there. One thing I have not looked at is with these probe cores. Let's find out. You weigh 0.25, you weigh 0.2. So you are actually even lighter. So let's scrape off another 0.2 of a ton by changing this little subassembly here. And your little batteries, 2, 4. Trying to get this thing home is just not proved to be really worth the trouble. I mean, I would love to, but it's a lot of just supervision to get it home. And in the meantime, although we have hit the point in our career where this thing can sit in orbit and I'm not going to have to worry about its batteries dying on me anymore because of the solar panels. So I can babysit it in orbit, which means it might be worth giving that another try. Wow, I can do a 1,000 ton lift now. That's interesting. Oh, right. Actually, it was suggested I have better. I do. Look at that, the BACCs. I didn't realize I'd gotten those. Okay. We're gonna do the mark and cleanup time. Staging cleanup. Make this way tidier now. Thank you for pointing that out. You know who you are. And I appreciate it very, very much that we can make this lift stage even better using command and control. Let's see. I wonder which ones are the stronger ones. Those are the larger ones, so they're probably the ones we want to use for this. So let's grab the BACCs. 1 and 2. Let's drop them down a little lower on the ship, like so. It'll be a lot... hopefully we don't run into any troubles with the little structure. Oops. Whoop, 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 whoop. Stop, stop, stop. How did that happen? That was not what I intended to grab. Come on, there's a stupid little... There it is. That goes there. And there. And then to keep the whole thing from wobbling around, we'll go like that. And that will hold those together. 480 ton lift. Is that enough fuel to do orbits around several different planets? Well, hopefully you guys can tell me. I think it will be, but I'm not 100% sure. Just based on my experience, I think it'll be doable, but let me know. Let me know. In the meantime, let's design something else here. That's 193,000. So that's pretty expensive, and this isn't going to pull off any missions. So actually what we need to do, we could go for a quick flight. Maybe we should redesign our airplane or do a controlled rocket flight. That might be fun. Let's have a look at our contracts. Currently, we want a small bomb to somewhere called Human's Lament and test a BACC, a BACC solid fuel rocket booster orbiting the moon. However, we're not going to the moon. Well, actually, radial mount liquid engine. Okay, let's think. Okay, let's have a look. Test this engine. This is a activate through staging sequence, which we can do. Let's think here. We've got... Let's do a money and science project here today. We're not going to be doing those. But it would be nice to clear out some of these crap contracts right now. So let's... LV1 orbiting Kerbal. Mark 55 radial orbiting Kerbal. Payload to orbit around Kerbal. Payload to orbit around Kerbal. Okay. So we already know we have a 50-ton lifter, but if we don't have to use that, so much the better. So let's see. So this mission, look at our contracts. So the payload deliveries are easy. Yeah. We're going to need... It's going to be some interesting stuff here. So we've got a very oddball payload to do. First of all, the Rockomax BACC attached to our probe core. That's going to be orbiting the moon. And then we have a, let's see, payload Kerbal, payload Kerbal, payload orbiting Kerbal. All right. So tests. Okay. So this is this payload has to go to the moon. That's part one. We're going to put a tiny little battery on top of it. It's basically what we're going to do is we're going to get it to the moon, and we are going to fire the engine and send this thing crashing into the moon or something. It'll be funny. But we need a battery. Just a tiny little battery so the thing doesn't explode when it gets inevitably activated. So this thing could function independently for a short time. Okay. So that's our test stage. Now then, orbiting Kerbal. Just trying to figure out if there's actually a better way to design this. There really isn't. This is going to be a very, very tall, top-heavy ship, unavoidably. 2 commercial payloads to deliver. Both of those being placed in orbit around Kerbal, which we'll drop them off on our way up. And we'll drop you like so. This is the reason I'm doing this is so that we can have a little bit of money in our wallets for the future. I don't believe I've seen a mission requiring us to... my god, that's going to be unstable. Okay. Well, there's nothing we can do to stabilize that so far. That's like completely worthless. Okay, well, it will be what it will be. Unless there's a better way to do this as a centered... Well, you know, the smart way to do this would be actually to wrap... We need to test the LV1. How can we attach that? Wow, okay, that is tiny. Haha, I have an idea. That is a very, very little engine. The little engine that could... Nope. Yep. Where'd that engine go? There's that engine. Alright. Does that thing have its own internal fuel pod? It, no, it doesn't. That is a random little engine, and I don't even... Hold on, do we need to even... This is where I wish we could actually review the whole contract right now. Okay, well, this will be called the... This shall be called the contractual obligations Mark 1. All right, let's just do a quick review. I know one of those contracts required me to test it by activating it and staging it. One of them required me to test it by the LV1 run test option in the parts context menu when all conditions are met. So a higher... Yeah, orbiting Kerbal. So I guess we're... Might have to put that somewhere else on the ship, but you know what? We can boost these payloads can sit in a high orbit. I think that'll be okay. Okay, so good news is we don't need that fuel tank right there. We just need this one right here. In fact, we almost... Alright, put that right there. That'll be our little test. Okay. So this ship needs to be able to get to the moon. We need to be able to deliver this payload right here to the moon, to lunar orbit. So what we need is a delivery system. And we don't want to be using... We don't want this thing to be super top heavy. So, VT 909. That is probably more than enough fuel to get this payload to the moon. That will definitely get us to the moon, which means we need a lower... Yeah, we can get to the moon on that. This tiny little payload here, which does not have enough batteries to actually make it to the moon. So we're going to need a little bit more battery power on this. We're not taking solar panels, there's no point. Let's just get a couple more rings of the, let's see, battery efficiency, is it equal? 1.6 for 32, 0.4 for 800. So yeah, it is, they're all equivalent. So this is 800 times 4 is equivalent to one of those, so that should be more, this mess should be more than enough, is the short of it. Okay. So 2 payloads, which are going to get just detached. Oh, we have to test These right here, and they just have to be tested as part of the launch system. How much do these weigh? Fair bit. How high in orbit do we have to get those ones to? Those are called the Mark 55. Okay, well, engine thrust, 120. Engine thrust, 220. Mass 0.2. Well, it will take, so if this is 220, and these are 120, is their fuel efficiency equivalent? 3.4 per second. Alright, 3.4, 6.4, 6.8 versus 7. They're more efficient. So one of these uses... So if we do this ship like this instead of using the traditional fuel thrusters, it'll be a little less powerful. In fact, it'll be a lot less powerful. But now we've killed two birds with one stone. We're going to be using the very engines we need to test. Mark 55 orbiting Kerbal at the altitude that we want to be sort of entering orbit at, so we can use those even to boost the orbit. We'll be able to use those first before we test that. In fact, we could even activate them and then just not use them right away. So that looks like a pretty solid rocket, except for the whole imbalance thing, which we can easily fix right there. Come on, no, come on. You can reach that, I'm sure of it. There we go. That's what we needed, right there. That'll keep that mess from wobbling all over the bloody place. So, Maxo Construction, Research and Development. Okay. That is a cozy little thing. And this is going to get left behind. This is the Mooner. Ooh, I do see something missing. Details, right? Just little details, you know. Like a couple RCS thrusters. And some RCS fuel might be nice too. We'll just reorient that. And those are in the way, of course. Very irritating. Yeah, I know, clipping, but... There we go. Okay. So, RCS. We've got RCS, we've got batteries. We've got... engines. We only have to get to the moon. Lunar orbit for the BACC. Alright, that's Contractual Obligations Mark 1, and that is what this is the mission we're going to do in the next episode. So I'll have a full week to contemplate. So we only need the 40-ton lift, don't we? And we just need to do a little redesign on it. Let's see. Okay, so then what we need to do, the last thing we need to do today, before we launch this thing. Okay. The whole thing costs 116,000, right? 230. So let's just do the math here. Assuming we use this launcher, which we probably will. I think it's a solid launcher. It can get 40 tons easily into orbit. So let's... Does it tell me the price of the sub-assemblies? No, it doesn't. That would be kind of useful to know what the price of these bits and bobs are. Let's get out of here and let's check the contract returns here. Just a few notes just to wrap out the episode. Make sure that this is even worth flying. So, 15,000 for payload to orbit around Kerbal. 15,000 for payload to orbit around Kerbal. So that's 30,000. Test the LV1, almost worthless. 8,297. And then radial engine orbiting Kerbal, 23,752. These guys are going to be useful. And then last but not least, the BACC orbiting the moon, 83,016. So, a quick visit with the calculator will tell us exactly where we stand. 6,230, 15,000, 15,000, 8,297, 23,752, and 83,016. So it's a $28,000 profit on this mission. So the question then becomes, where can we cut some corners? Because every dollar we can shave off of that $116,000 is gravy for us. So what could we do? Well, a wink's as good as a nod. A decoupler's as good as a... Well, let's do some price comparisons. Obviously, we're not ending the episode right here. So a simple stack decoupler costs 400. A docking port costs 280. So those docking ports are actually cheaper. Okay. So if docking ports are cheaper than stack decouplers, we actually could use a clampotron here instead of a docking port. Not a lot, but that's $100. We could use fewer RCS right there. That's a few dollars. We could, honestly, the best way we could get a lot of money out of this would be to parachute this thing home. That's where a lot of money would be. If we can get this payload, this middle section home, that's a fair chunk of cash right there. What's cheaper? 4 LVT-45s. Well, let's see. Those are all those are chump change things, really. Let's see. Which subassembly is cheaper? It's a 43-ton ship right now. So the other 40-ton lift, I mean, this is the Mark 1 40-ton lift, and it costs 107, so that's a lot cheaper. Alright, so this is probably the one we want to fly. And then fly it with 4 of those instead of 6. Fly it with parachutes so we can bring this thing home now. Because we might have decent odds of that if we're very careful with our reentry process. Okay. So it's now 112 with the potential of recovering the center stage. It has an iffy quantity of fuel on it. We could... Oh, here's something else we could do. We get rid of this. Heck with being able to... If we have to relocate it, they're probably just going to have to deal with it. Get rid of this. Get rid of those. 111. Okay. Getting down there. So that's an improvement. That's 5,000 more we squeezed out of this thing. I don't think there's a lot more we can get out of it short of getting this home. I think getting this piece home is going to be the key. That will sort of round our profit out quite nicely, I think. I mean, these are small payloads. This is almost just being... We're almost just doing this to clear our payload inventory. Because these are some crappy little payloads, and it'd be nice to get some bigger, more lucrative contracts. Anyhow, that went a little longer than I had planned, but hope you enjoyed it. I'd love your thoughts on the 2 ships we designed today. And I'll see you in the next episode when we fly Contractual Obligations Mark 1. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.